Good morning, students. So, we were discussing the chapter number 3 of Geography Motions of the Earth. In this chapter, till now, we have discussed about rotation and revolution, the two movements of the Earth, as well as we have also understood the meaning of orbital plane, circle of illumination. We have tried to understand these diagrams, and we have also uh, understood that what would happen if the earth will not rotate. Then we have seen the second motion of the earth around the sun is its orbit is called revolution, and it takes 365 days to complete 1 year. As well as we have understood the concept of leap year, how the leap year is having 29 days instead of 28 days in the month of February. Now we are going to see further, but before going to see further, here I am going to explain you this diagram. Here you can see it is the diagram of the revolution of the earth, and you can see as the earth is revolving around the sun, the seasons are also changing. How the seasons are changing, that we are going to understand. Before going to understand how the seasons are changing, it is very important to understand that there are 4 seasons in the world. Basically there are only 2 seasons, summer and winter. But instead of these 2 seasons, there are 2 more, spring and autumn. These seasons are there. How they are taking place, or uh, what are the reasons behind that the seasons are changing, all these things we are going to understand here. So, as you can see here, we will start from the month of uh, March. On 21st of March, you can see the position of the axis of the earth. Here on 21st March, it is the equinox over the earth. Equinox means what? On the day of equinox, the equator is having the 12 hours day and 12 hours night throughout the world. And after that, you can see in the northern hemisphere there is spring, and in the southern hemisphere there is autumn season. Then here you can see the month of June. After moving towards the month of June, on 21st June, the summer solstice is there. What is summer solstice? That also we are going to understand. But here you can see that summer in the northern hemisphere is there and winter is in the southern hemisphere. What is the reason behind that? As you can see, the northern part of the earth is facing this time toward the sun. The northern hemisphere is having the summer season, and at the same time the southern part of the earth is far from the sun, and therefore you can see there is winter season in the southern hemisphere. In this way, summer and winter seasons are there in the month of June, from the month of we can say March, April, May, June, July, till these months, or even till August also. The summer and winter season are there in the northern and southern hemisphere respectively. Now we will understand the meaning of summer solstice. So here you can see the longest day and the shortest night at these places occur on 21st June at this time. In the southern hemisphere, all the conditions are reversed. It is winter season there, the nights are longer than days. This position of the earth called the summer solstice. That means in the month of summer season on 21st June, it is the longest day and shortest night at these places. In which places? In the northern hemisphere. It and in reverse of that, there is winter season in the southern hemisphere, and therefore there are longer. The nights are longer than the days. This position of the earth is called summer solstice. Here we are going to understand this paragraph after this also, but before we will understand the remaining part of this diagram. Now moving toward the September month, on the 23rd September it is equinox again. On 23rd September there is equinox, and I've already told you the meaning of equinox. What is equinox? Well, let's try to understand once again. On 21st March and 23rd September, direct rays of the sun fall on the equator. That means the sun rays are falling direct or straight on the equator on these 2 days. At this position, either of the poles is tilted towards the sun, so neither of the poles is tilted toward the sun, so the whole earth experiences equal days and equal nights. This is called an equinox. So here we have understood that on the 21st March and 23rd September, the position of the earth is like that, that the neither of the poles means neither means north as well as south. Both the poles are not tilted toward the sun, and so the whole world or the whole earth experiences equal days as well as equal nights on these days, and therefore these are called as the equinox. So we have understood the meaning of equinox. Now you can see here there are two seasons again. As we have seen in the month of March, there was spring in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere there was autumn. But in the month of September, the situation is just reversed of that. In the month of September, there is autumn in the northern hemisphere and there is spring in the southern hemisphere. In this way, as we move ahead and go toward the month of December, from the month of October, November, December, and January and February, during this period, there is winter season in the northern hemisphere, and at the same time, there is summer in the southern hemisphere. Why this happens? Because this time you will see the position of the northern pole and the southern pole are just opposite of the as you can see in the month of 21st in the month of June. So as the the northern hemisphere is, or the northern pole is far from the sun rays or from the sun, there is winter in this during this time in the northern hemisphere. Just opposite of that, in the southern hemisphere, there is summer in the south, and this is the time of winter solstice. What is the meaning of winter solstice? The winter solstice on 22nd December, the Tropic of Capricorn receives the direct sun rays of the sun in the south, in the southern region, and therefore here in the southern hemisphere the days are longer and the nights are shorter, and therefore in the southern hemisphere it is in the southern hemisphere it is summer solstice, and in the northern hemisphere it is winter solstice. So in the month of December there is winter solstice, we can say. We are moving ahead. So in this way we have seen how throughout the year the seasons are changing, as well as the different days are important. 21st June there is summer solstice. On 22nd December there is winter solstice. On in the month of March, on 21st March, there is equinox, as well as in the 23rd of September there is equinox. And therefore we can say the the revolution of the earth is very important for changing the season, or keep on changing the seasons, as well as the proper change of the season is also important for the whole earth. Now we are going to see the next part of the chapter, that we have already seen some of the parts of this in short. Now let us look at all these points once again. Look at figure 3.3. You will see that on 21st June, northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. The rays of the sun fall directly on the Tropic of Cancer. As a result, these areas receive more heat. The areas near the poles receive less heat, as the rays of the sun are slanting. The North Pole is inclined towards the sun, and the places beyond the Arctic Circle experiences continuous daylight for about 6 months. Since the large portion of the northern hemisphere is getting light from the sun, it is summer in the region north of the equator. The longest day and the shortest night at the places occur on 21st June. At this time, in the southern hemisphere, all these conditions are reversed. It is winter season. There, the nights are longer than the days. This position of the earth is called the summer solstice. Now you can see, with the help of the figure 3.3, we have already understood that what is the speciality of that. So on 21st June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, and therefore the rays of the sun fall directly on the Tropic of Cancer. And as the Tropic of Cancer receives the high direct sun rays, as a result of that, you can see it receives the more heat, and the areas near the poles receive less heat, as the rays of the sun are slanting toward it, toward the northern as well as southern hemisphere. The North Pole is inclined toward the sun in this time, in the month of June, and therefore you will see it experiences beyond the Arctic Circle. This region of the northern pole experiences continuous daylight for about 6 months. That means there is 6 months day over there in the month of in the northern hemisphere in the summer season. Since a large portion of the northern hemisphere is getting light from the sun, it is summer in this region north of the equator in the from the month of we can say March, April, May, June, July, till June, July, as well as August. And then the longest day and the shortest nights at these places occur on 21st June. As at this time in the southern hemisphere, all these conditions are reversed. Means whatever the things you can see, that the Tropic of Cancer is receiving the direct sun rays, as well as the northern hemisphere there is summer. All these conditions are reversed in the southern hemisphere. At this time in the southern hemisphere, all these conditions are reversed. It is winter season in the southern hemisphere, and the nights are longer than the days. This position of the earth, called the summer solstice, means there is when there is when there is direct when there is direct sunlight onto the Tropic of Cancer, and nearby days in the month of June, July, all that, this period is called as the summer solstice. I hope that you understood these points, and in the next period we are going to see the further part of it, like winter solstice, equinox, and then we will conclude the chapter in the next period. Till then, thank you very much.